Hello and welcome back to Factorio Tightening the Belt Megabase Guide. I'm Xterminator and thank you for joining me again. So I've rerouted the circuit belt, I was about to say copper, circuit belt over, this extra one we're outputting right here. I've routed it over. It's not the cleanest thing. We'll have to move it a little bit, but that can be done later. And I've split it, so some of it goes down the bus and the rest comes over here where we do need it. And we set this up last episode. Everything is good to go. I'm just double checking these chests are capped because I made that mistake before, and it is a very expensive mistake to not cap your chests. In general, that's a tip I hadn't really covered before, but make sure you cap your chests if you want it to be. You know, I mean, if for some reason you want a full chest of something, then go for it. But if you intend to limit your production, it is extremely important to remember and double check that your chests have been capped off. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do some electric engines, I think, is what I'd like to do. So we need electric engines both for the purple production science packs as well as robots. So what we're going to do, I think, is we're going to just take some of the electric engines from the production science and put them towards robots, or just build the electric engine build a little bigger to then give some to the robots. And we will need batteries and steel and electronic circuits. Now, batteries, I haven't actually turned on as of yet. We need to get iron and copper up there, but we don't need them quite yet. I want to work on the engines today. So we have this here. Now, I did consider, I thought, well, maybe we could just, like, expand this out, right? Like, maybe we could just make this build bigger and then split some off for electric engines, which, looking at it, may be possible. My main concern when I thought about it in my head is that there's not room to, like, add more here. There's room for this. We'd have to move this, though, which isn't that big of a deal. I'm not sure how the belts would support it. I mean, this is backed up now, but like if we were actually doing research constantly, or once we start doing some infinite research, you know, these aren't going to be backed up, and this is ratioed to this. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and get advanced electronics, get that out of the way. So let's think here. If we add another one of these, so two of these can support this amount. So if we add one more pipe machine, it can support half this, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Which is not bad. So we could do like 5 on each end. It wouldn't really be too clean with this. And then we could send it off into the engines, electric engines. But I think I'm actually going to do another build. And there's a reason I want to do this, is mostly for to demonstrate another method of building we can do here. So let's go ahead and, well, hold on. Now, do we want this to be purple science? We probably do. Let's plan out for purple science just because I want it closer to the labs, right? If I built like the engines and furnaces and then the purple science is going to be like way down here. So if we just look, this is going to be the same exact amount as we needed for military, because it again produces 2 per cycle. Well, actually it's not. It's a different production time. So if we wanted 2 a second, we need 28 machines because it takes 14 seconds. So 2 times that is 28. But since it outputs 2 products per cycle, we only need 14. So this is really simple to figure out, because for these ones, you just literally look at the production time, and that's how many machines you need for these double ones. And I guess for the single ones, it's just double the production time for 2 a second, which is 120 a minute, by the way, if you didn't translate that. Like, I hadn't actually thought of it that way yet, and I was like, wow, it's actually 120 minutes. That's pretty good. So this is, of course, I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, I think. Pretty sure that's it. Can we clear something? I have a lot of blueprints. I have a ton of blueprints. Okay, I don't think we need this anymore. We can always re-blueprint it if we do. Let me just count. This is a good way to count. So that's 14, which is perfect. And the one annoying thing is you can't actually delete a blueprint that's empty until you make something of it, which is kind of frustrating, but not too bad. So we're just going to set these up just so I know what they are and just plan out. So these need only 2 ingredients, which is really nice because we have an output belt here and then we just need 1 input belt. Not nearly as complicated as the other stuff. And we're just doing that for primarily spacing, to figure out what we want for spacing. And while we're kind of on this end of things, let's go grab some more belt. I did grab like 600, but I used a ton of it bringing those circuits down. Now, the electric engines are pretty straightforward. They just take engines, and then they take circuits and lubricant. Now, again, I could expand the current engine build, and normally, well, not normally, this would be my first instinct. Normally, I do actually build it in a way that I'm about to show you, but since this build is actually fairly expandable, I probably would have chosen to do this, but again, like I mentioned, I want to do it this other way to show you kind of a different method and some stuff you can do with inserters, with longhand inserters that I think a lot of people don't think of. So let's go ahead and have this come down. Let's make sure we have room. It's gonna be there. Okay, so we're gonna have electric engines. Now, how many of these do we need? Well, we have 14 assemblers for this, right? So we need these products at a rate of 1 per second. So we need 1 electric engine per second, and these take 10 seconds, so it's very simple. We need 10. And this is just gonna be all the assemblers we have here. So these guys are gonna do this. Now, luckily, the normal engines are a 1-to-1 ratio to electric engines. They take exactly the same amount of time, which is nice. Something else worth mentioning here is you'll notice that these have a liquid input, which is lubricant in this case. And this is really important to note because I know when I first started, I was actually extremely confused. Like, I was so confused for the longest time on how the heck I was supposed to make electric engines and such, because they aren't made in a chemical plant. But I was like, there's no input on an assembler. Just looking at an assembler, I'm like, there's no liquid input. And this can confuse a lot of people. I've seen posts on the Reddit and forums about this as well. Once you place the assembler and choose the recipe, if it needs a liquid, it will then add the input, and you can rotate this like normal assemblers. You can't really rotate them because there's no specific direction. But with these, you can actually hit R over them to rotate them if you need the liquid coming in a different direction, which is really nice. Now, I'm actually going to opt into having circuits here, I think. Is that what I want to do? Maybe. If I have that, yeah. Because then what we're going to do is we're going to turn this. Does this copy? Okay. Copying does not copy the direction, unfortunately. So we're going to do this, and I'm just going to do a simple pipe along here. Now, you're probably thinking, how am I supposed to insert into this? And this is where a lot of people can get kind of caught up, because you can't place inserters here now. Well, you could underground, kind of, except not really, because your underground pipe would it would still consume like all the space, since you would be like that, and you still can't get an inserter in there. Now, you could bring the pipe like from farther out and then direct in, and that would work for you. But what I've actually found to work best in my case is you just use long-handed. And long-handed can be used in many different ways, because you see here, it's right up against the assembler, so it's pulling from like the middle-ish, and then it's outputting to this farther away belt, which is, what you would usually use it for. But these actually can go even farther than that by doing it like this. Right? Because now it may not look like it. Well, it does now. If this pipe weren't here, it'd be a little clearer. You can see his arrow is barely within this hitbox. So even though it may look like this is too far away, this can actually work, and it does work. It allows you to kind of get yet another space in here. Now, we don't actually need it. Like, the other machines aren't going to be this far away, but this allows us to insert into here without having to do something weird with this pipe. We can just place it on the outside, which is really nice. Now, the reason I do this is because these are just going to be electric engines. This is going to be the electric engines, or not electric, sorry, normal engines. And since it's a 1-to-1 ratio, remember, we can just direct insert 1-to-1, and it's perfect. Now, if you wanted, you can move these out even farther. This will grab from here, I believe, but we don't need to because our circuits are already here. So we're going to do that, and then these guys just need the 3 materials that we obviously are doing up here. And I am out of gears. Let's go grab some gears. Well, hey, here's some gears and circuits. Perfect. I need both of them. So there we go. I'm glad this is working, this side loading now. Now, a quick note is this actually won't even work unless it is a faster belt. Like, if I do that, it still won't work even with this not being a curve straight away. So you do need a faster belt for that to even work. But that did solve it in our particular situation. So I'm gonna do this, and because we need a few of the pipes and gears. Now, this is only 10, which is what a pipe machine can support. A gear machine, as you can see here, can support up to 20 of these, or however many this is. Yeah, 22, 4, 6, 8, 10. 20 of these. So the limiter is going to be the pipes, but we only need 10, so we're just going to build one pipe and one gear. I think we're just going to do it very simple. Again, just like we did with the other thing. Now, can I space this correctly? I doubt it. Hey, we got it. All right, so this guy, whoop, did not mean to copy that. This guy is going to then be gears. This is going to come along here, and we will need steel, which might be a little bit interesting. Actually, it's really not going to be that difficult. Steel could just go like this. Come here. Now, would it have been less work and more space efficient to expand this build? Yes. However, like I said, I do want to demonstrate some different ways of building for you guys, just explore options, because I think, like I believe personally, that like ingenuity and just creativity with building a factory really helps you learn and just be better and have your mind more open to what you can do. You know, if you're just, you know, if you only see someone play the same way every single time, it's not really going to teach you much except how to play that way really well. But allowing yourself to, you know, think outside the box and think of different possibilities is what I believe, you know, helps you just get better at the game. Because instead of being like, well, this is how I've done it last time, I'm just going to do it this time again, and you're not actually learning anything aside from, you know, how to place the stuff faster because you know the order already. Whereas doing, like, changing it up each time and showing you these different methods of having this work is, you know, making you think differently and say like, oh, okay, well, cool, I didn't think of that. And then, you know, maybe something else will pop into your mind and be like, oh, well, I didn't think of that, but that now makes me think of some other way I could do this. And this, what was this? Oh, this was the empty gear line. Okay. See, I used that splitter to empty it out. Let's just pick this up really quick. Keep things a little bit tidy. All right, and now we just need iron and steel. Actually, gear, see, again, we do have gears on the bus, but this is the same situation as over here. Is there's one gear machine, which again is actually producing double what we need for these, and it just seems kind of silly to me to split off the bus of gears just for, like, you know, something that's pretty much almost gonna do nothing from it. Uh-oh. It's not what we wanted. It's just it's hardly gonna consume anything, so just splitting off this seems a little bit silly to me. Now, this iron line is going there. We didn't actually, did we? So we didn't need this full line. I'm not quite sure why I did this. So that guy's there. Now, if you run into a situation like this, you can actually just do this and it'll auto, like, curve it again for you and connect in. So this guy goes here. Let's do that. Again, shouldn't underground the main bus, but that you can't really underground this unless you veer it out, and then that's going to look really bad. So I'm going to go backwards. As I mentioned before, I find it a lot easier to go backwards from where you want the stuff to go. Let's I would do 2 inserters, again, as I mentioned before, why, but since this is actually going to produce double anyways, it can be a bit slower. And it's just less inserters, less entities, less power. I mean, the power is, like, extremely negligible, but okay, advanced electronics is done. Character register slocks 2, braking force, which is pretty cool. It allows your trains to brake faster, which, you know, is it essentially means that they can be going faster for longer because they don't have to brake as soon. Personal roboport, that is what we need. That's kind of what we were working towards with the power armor and stuff. So let's run this. This is going to be iron, which actually does not, well, yeah, it could come from there. So what we're going to do is just split it over here, like here-ish. And then this guy can go under. So we're going to have steel and then iron. Running on the belt definitely does not help. Slows me down. This research is cranking along. Like, this is actually going really well. Okay, so this one was going to be steel, I believe. Oh. Let's make a few more splitters. Like so. Split him off, and then the iron can just come down. And where was this hooking in? Like right here-ish. So this is really nice. If you have map view, instead of like running over there or whatever, or just trying to eyeball this, you can come in and then follow it, and then you can just ghost it. And I'm like, okay, well now this needs to split here. And it's way easier. Before we had the ability to zoom into the map view into the real world, you had to like either eyeball it or run all the way back over there. But now we can just do this and that'll be perfect. I need another power pole here. There we go. So these electric engines, this is what we need for purple science. Now luckily, so we did need to expand this a little bit. This is going to take one electric engine every 20 seconds. It's very slow. So in the time it takes to make one of these flying robot frames, we can make 2 electric engines from one assembler machine. So essentially that means that one assembling machine of this can support 2 of this. So I'm just going to do 2 extras. That means we could have 4 robot frame machines, which really we probably don't even need that many for now, because we're not really doing a robot factory. Is an important thing to note. You know, that when I first started the series, I believe in the beginning I mentioned we're doing a belt megabase, not a robot megabase. The only reason I'm getting robots is because I do want them for my personal use, for personal roboports, construction bots, and then also just for essentially bringing stuff to me, like in the mall over here. Like I said, some of the stuff is going to go into passive provider chests, which I'll explain when we get there how all the chests work. But you know, those are going to go there, and they're just going to be used essentially to transfer to me, or in very rare cases to bring stuff across the factory that's just really silly to belt, like the red circuits, over to the stack inserters that will be in the mall, since the red circuits are like down here. I didn't really want to belt them up and then over, but overall it's going to be belt based, so that's why we don't really need a ton. And then also I just want to assure you that I'm not going a robot factory, because I know some people may be concerned about that. This is going to be pretty much entirely belt based, and we do need circuits here. It's pretty straightforward. Now that pipe machine can't support all those, but they're not going to all be running at the same time. Well, they may, but it's very unlikely that they would all be running at the same time because, you know, if the science is going, you know, well, the robots probably won't always be being produced, and we may not always be doing science, so some will back up. We could just add another pipe machine. There's plenty of room there too, which, you know, again, expandability, make sure you leave room. So do that, and then we need another one. Like that. I could go further, but I like my symmetry. This is... What? Was some of this red belt? Why was this red belt? That's a little bit odd. I hit the wrong key, apparently. And then we just need a splitter. And there we go. I'm gonna leave that rock there for now. He's not hurting anything. And that should get these going, and then we just need to export them out the other side, and we should be in good shape. Well, we need the lubricant, so we'll have to run that down, but that's easy enough. Let's do this. Pairs again. Like so. This will output. And again, it's a little bit silly with how this lines up. But, so yeah, what we're going to do actually is we're going to run these here. And we're just going to bring this out here. Like that. Because we will be putting the electric furnaces on the other side of this. Like that. And then these last two, so actually these two, are going to go the other direction. Because then we can do robot frames like over here. And for now, I am just going to box these up. Because we do probably want a little bit of stock of them for any miscellaneous stuff. Let's throw a power pole here, and I'm just gonna do like 2 stacks, not a ton, but some. And now we just need the lubricant. So let's go grab a ton of underground pipes, because it's really deceiving how many you need to cover a distance. Personal roboport's done. Personal roboport 2 we can't actually get yet. Character logistics slots 1 would be something good. And so far, science is keeping up well. I mean, I'm being kind of conservative with what I'm researching, just because we're not actually there yet. Like, we don't need all this stuff quite yet. I'm going to just take all of it. It's quite a ways to run pipe. We have an entire tank full of lubricant, and it's still being made. Like, well, the tank's backed up, but once it empties, the machine is still there, which is good. And also, let's throw, I mentioned last episode, let's throw a radar up here, simply so we can map view in. So I turn this off. Plastic's backed up. This guy's all backed up. We're not doing much with red circuits at the moment. I think they're probably entirely backed up if I had to make a guess. If we go in here, oh yeah, which is a really nice sight to see. We will need them for for some reason I keep thinking they're robo frames. We will need them for logistics robots. These guys take a frame and then 2 advanced circuits, and the constructions are much cheaper. They only take 2 electronic circuits and the frames. So let's go ahead and connect this up straight through the trees. There's always trees in the way, I'm telling you. Every darn time there are trees right where I want to build something. The game is just like has an obsession with putting trees right where I need to place something. All right. Again, so as you can see here, I'm just running and holding down mouse click, and it is taking me exactly where I want to go. Now this is the mall. We actually will need lubricant here because blue belt later on, the express belt, if I can find the darn thing. What is it? Logistics. Blue belt does in fact take lubricant, all the pieces of it. So this is actually a really good place to be running this. Let's run this like here, and then we'll turn it, and we can just pull off of that corner there. And I'm gonna bring it all the way over here. I think we could actually just run it. That's a little bit in the way. All right, we may go past the labs. Excuse me. So yeah, bring it out there. 1 to go past the labs, and then 2 so we leave room for this to expand. Now there's not much room up, which is gonna be a problem. We can move this up if we need to. It's actually not going to be too much more we put on this mall, I don't think. Stack inserters, blue belt, maybe some power poles, and that's going to be about it, I think. So let's run this out. And I'm going a little bit far just because we may want to add even more labs in the future. Now, I am stopping to put the corner pieces in now. You could go a little bit faster without putting those in, but then you're going to be left with not knowing why you don't have liquid. I can't tell you the amount of times I've placed pipes and then like been stumped as to why there's no liquid in them, and it was because I forgot a corner piece somewhere to connect it up. We're almost there, aren't we? Yeah. This forest. All right, I'm gonna go backwards again. Gonna be much easier than trying to line this up. We do need to go farther, but wow, we've used almost like 2 stacks here. It's a lot. Now you may be like, it may be worrying about the pressure in the pipe because it's such a long distance, and if you need, because the throughput of fluids does decrease over distance. Like a pipe can do X amount at a short distance, and then that decreases the longer it goes. And I unfortunately do not know all these throughput amounts for the liquids and pipes off the top of my head. And fluid mechanics are kind of wonky. So that's why I haven't explained them yet, because the only way I can explain them is just like don't build huge pipe sections unless it's a low throughput thing. Like this is, you know, this takes hardly any lubricant. It takes 15 lubricant, which is not much considering how much a pipe can transfer. But liquids are just, they're kind of a pain, to say the least. There are write-ups and stuff about all the fluid mechanics. If you can search like Google search like Factorio fluid mechanics or pipe throughput or whatever. And there's some good articles on the forum and stuff about the throughput at distance. Like I said, I don't have them all memorized, unfortunately. But this is more than enough. You can see here, the 70 in here, these guys, it's totally fine. So this is doing that. This is coming over here and doing this, and we're good to go for that, which is perfect. We are at 24 minutes. I think we can't do furnaces that quick, can we? Furnaces somewhere? Steel, brick, right. Well, we could if we had the brick. Well, we're gonna need, these are actually, okay, so 5, and we're consuming them at a rate of 1 per second. So we need 5 assemblers doing this, which is not bad. Let's line this up. We can set this up for 5. Oh, I copied the empty one and then pasted it over. All right, so this guy is gonna export here. He does need 3 materials, so we will need 2 input belts, unfortunately. and again a higher throughput thing on the closer belt, which means that like one of the high throughput and one of the low throughput should share a belt rather than the two high throughput things. So steel and stone should not share a belt, and so that means either steel in advanced circuits or stone in advanced circuits, and then the other thing that needs 10 can go on the other belt. There we go, and I'm running out of materials very quickly, but these guys can just go, actually, can do this. Since it's an odd number, the pairs are going to be a little bit weird. Do that, like that, and then some long-handed, and we should be in good shape. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. And some power poles. So this guy will be all ready for next episode. In fact, we can just get like purple science just done next episode. It's kind of interesting how purple science is actually a lot simpler than blue science. Yeah, I mean, it requires less ingredient, and then one less ingredient, and then the ingredients it does require are a lot simpler than Science Pack 3. I mean, maybe not, well, they are. I mean, it's really simple to set up. Mostly it's because you had to do all this infrastructure to get to blue science, whereas for purple science, since you did it already, it's already set up, which it does bring up an interesting point for, I guess, just a quick little mention for the end of this episode. I think a lot of new players get stuck at blue science. I've seen a lot of people mention in posts, asking about how to do it or saying that they've gotten there and then they've, maybe lost interest because it just seemed way overwhelming. And I think I mean, you saw how long it took us to set this up. Now, I was doing it mostly proper, like good ratios, a build that's probably way bigger than most new players would build. But again, it's still the same thing. As a new player, and I was exactly the same way. When I looked at this, the recipe, of course, has changed since I first started. But if you are a new player now and you look at this, you're like, wow, this is really complicated because it's 3 items, and 2 of which, probably the advanced circuits and engines, you hadn't built any of until this point. You probably built some miners, at least by hand, so you know kind of what goes into them. But, and the engines are actually fairly simple. But then, like the advanced circuits, you need normal circuits. You need to set up oil to get plastic. And then you need the copper, and you need to figure out how to get the cable in. And pretty much for the entire, my entire memory of playing Factorio, blue science has always been the most complicated. Like, because you need oil for it, which can be really overwhelming at first and annoying. And it's, I don't know that I've seen maybe 1 or 2 cleanly designed oil setups. And mine is definitely not one of them. It's really difficult to get oil to look nice. I'm annoyed. These don't line up. What? All right. Because these are in a pair and these aren't. Well, whatever. Just won't look at it, right? I think that's a pretty good rule. We just won't look at it. Okay, so he goes here. Skips 1. Yeah, okay. Here we go, and that should cover it. What are the chances I can make 2? None. Maybe. Let's make 2 more, and then I think I'll call this. So I'm actually pretty happy with this. We got electric engines done. We got some being stored for the robot frames. Next episode, we will get the electric furnaces done. And since those will be pretty straightforward, because between this episode and next, I'm hoping to get bricks set up, the brick smelters over here set up. Just be pretty simple, just build it out, and we have stone up here. Not a ton of it, but it's enough. So we can get electric furnaces set up and then probably get robot frames set up too. We'll just need to bring up some iron and copper to the batteries and then bring the batteries down, and then steel and circuits are actually already here, so we can just pull these off, which will be absolutely perfect. This lines up really good. I didn't even anticipate that. But that'll do it, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and found it helpful. If you have any questions or anything else, leave them down in the comments, and I will do my best to read them and respond. But until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.